Hi, my candidate ID number is 0012720343. This is my IB Computer Science SL IA. For my IA, I chose to do a patient information management system. All the files for my program can be found in the product file, or product folder, sorry. My program requires several text files: diabetes list, high BP list, IA patient list master, medicine list, next patient, and obese patients. I have two resource classes: patient 3, which is my main resource class, and medicine. I overrode a comparator, or the native comparator in Java, and that is urgency comparator, and the main program / driver is menu structure 3. Now to patient 3, which is as I said previously, my main resource class. I have several variables, as you can see here. I can read from a string. I have my gets and sets methods there, and I have a toString, a toFile, which is what I use whenever I needed to print something back to my text file and be my calculation. Medicine is a much smaller resource class. It's only really used with prescriptions. It has the only values it has is name and cost. It has to get the sets and read from string. And the urgency comparator that I overrode is here. Just compares off of value urgency, which is from the patient 3. And the higher the urgency value, the higher it is in the priority queue that utilizes this. Now on to my main project, menu structure 3. There's 3 main options: doctor, nurse, pharmacy tech. This is used to sort of model the system that you'd find in a doctor's office or even a hospital. For demo purposes, it is easiest to start with the nurse. Note that for this program to run, the medicine file, or the medicine list file, must be like this. But any other file can be blank. And going off of that, the nurse. You can start from absolutely no patients in your patient list, but I already have some previous just to give us some better data to use. You can register new patients, or you can check in all patients. The patients, it's not in the system, you need to register them, so I'll click no. You can register as many as you want. For demo purposes, I'll just register 2. Kenny, who is 36, he weighs 140, he is 5'9", which is 69 inches, and this gets into the urgency that my priority queue is based off of. Heart attack is the absolute highest urgency, the fluid's lowest, or actually no, it has the lowest. It gives an urgency of 0, in which case it's first in, first out for the patients. I'm going to say he has the flu, which would give him an urgency value of 1, and insurance information copay, I'm going to say he has a copay of 20 and a premium of $200. And then Kenny's been added. Before you can view them in the text file, all patients that you're entering have to be added. So keep this in mind. Now I'll add Alexis, who's going to be 42. She's going to weigh 150. She's going to be 5'4", which is 64 inches. And I'm going to say she's having a heart attack right now, which she needs immediate care, so she's going to be at the top of the urgency list. She does not have copay, or does not have insurance, so her copay is -$9.99, and premium is 0. Is the patient already in the system? We will now go through and check them in. What the nurse will do every time a patient comes in. You can check in patients by both name and ID. First, we'll check in Kenny. They'll take their height again like they do in a doctor's office. He has not changed in height. He has lost a few pounds. His systolic blood pressure, which is only updated when the nurse checks you in, you do not assign this previously, is 115. His diastolic is 95. And then we can check in Alexis as well. We're going to check her in by ID. The ID for the patients is auto-generated in a numerical fashion, increasing. So the absolute original patient was Lee, who was 100, and every patient's added since goes on. Alexis and Kenny, have been added. Alexis has an ID of 111, and Kenny has the previous ID of 110, like they're supposed to. So we'll enter Alexis' ID and look at pulls up Alexis. She has grown 1 inch, and she has actually gained some weight. Her systolic blood pressure is going to be 130, and her diastolic is 75. The patient and system, you can continue to check in or add as many patients as you wish, but we'll move on with the demo. Now to demo the doctor aspects. The doctor can go, when the doctor is called, it automatically calls the diagnose method, which goes through and based off of the patient's values, such as weight, height, which gets BMI and obesity, blood sugar and blood pressure, and their urgency values. Diagnoses them for what they have right now. And these 3 text files right here are updated in case the doctor wishes to pull up a list of these patients, just these patients, yeah. So you can go back to here and open up obese patients, and you will see a list of all the patients that are considered obese. And it goes into the classes of like how obese they are. Are they just overweight? Are they class 2, class 3, or even class 1? Same can be done for diabetes. It just goes through diabetes, kind of you have it or not, so it just states which patients have diabetes. And high blood pressure goes through and you diagnose them based on the stages. You can see here that Kenny is hypertensive, stage 1. Alexis only has a slightly elevated blood pressure, so she's considered prehypertension or hypertensive. So these 3 files are updated when the doctor is called. So now the doctor has an option to view patients. He can view the next patient, which is the patient at the top of the priority queue, which again is based off of how urgent their care is. Alexis is having a heart attack, so her urgency is 4, the highest possible value, and she's at the front of the queue. So it prints out all of her values, and now lets you, the doctor can view next, which is kind of pointless because they just saw it again, or they can view all the patients and just step through them. This is just read from the order of the text file, and just I only did one per screen, or one printed at once, because most screens cannot handle showing 2 at once because the sheer amount of information. Yep. So the doctor can also sort. You can sort by ID in case the text file ever becomes in a different order. This is just really, since that hasn't been messed with, the same order as the view all. You can also view by first name, which uses a bubble sort and the string compared to sort them by in alphabetical order. And it just goes through all of them, and again in this single patient per screen, or per turn fashion. It can also sort them by those that are heavier than average. So, and it goes through and prints out the patients that are heavier than average. As we saw from the obese list, these 4 patients are obese, but if we go back to the obese list, not all of them are. This because, well, for example, Amy is obese. She's not heavier than average. So this just gives the doctor another tool to look at their patients. Now it gets into the main part of the program, which is we've already had the diagnose, and from the diagnose, the doctor can treat. The doctor will take care of any issues that have to be surgery for their heart attack, or stitching up wounds or cast. Here gets into the treat. The patients are analyzed for what they have, and it pulls the first one from the queue. And it kind of gives a printout of what the patients need to do in the future. Alexis is overweight, so she needs to eat less and exercise more. She needs to watch what she eats because she has slight hypertension, and her blood sugar is currently set at 0, which means she has low blood sugar. She needs to eat immediately. And after this, she is removed from the queue because she's been treated. Doctor can then treat the next patient. This pulls next one from the queue. If we go back to our text file, we see that Tim had an urgency of 3. He's actively bleeding wound. He is currently obese. And just go back to... yeah. And he's been prescribed Novain because he has hypertension, insulin because he's diabetic, and penicillin because he had that actively bleeding wound. And from here, it's rewritten back to the text file. He's removed from the queue, urgency set to 0. Same thing happened to Alexis, but I will now show you that again. Every time they're diagnosed, it goes to write someone all their health issues are, and you can see here, you can see here on Tim that he has prescriptions that he's been prescribed, saved with his file, and the pharmacy tech can access this and then fill his order. And this just goes through the queue. Tom was the next person that had issues, and then it just gets back to the first in, first out kind of thing. So it's it just goes through randomly through all the patients that are at 0. So now back to the final application of my project, the Pharmacy Tech. Pharmacy Tech fills the prescriptions for those that have them. He has 2 options of how to look up the patients. He can enter a patient's name, and we're going to do Tim because he's the only patient so far that has a prescription. And it goes through, it shows the prescriptions they have, and then it fills the prescriptions. And then based off his copay, his premium, and the cost from the medicine list, it gives him how much they owe. And then it can go back, and this can go on infinitely. This program can handle a large number of patients, but just for the demo I did a few. And just right at the end I'll show you the patient list one last time, just to make sure, go through it all. It's all delimited through commas, but a couple of them are sort of delimiter inside of delimiter. Nested is the proper term, yeah. The ailments are nested so that it can go. The program can kind of keep them all in one bunch. And it just goes through this. The prescriptions, as I previously stated, get filled in based off of what these are, the ailments are, and just to compare, this is the original list that we had. See a lot more blanks, and then but the program has auto-diagnosed them and given sort of a lot more information. So that's my IA.